genuinely to come from them.
Now, another clip from Jesus Camp here that shows that the adults in this world know exactly what they're doing. Now, I don't believe that all parents who pass on religion to their children do it with the conscious understanding that they are manipulating their child's mind, but this woman certainly understands what she is doing. So this is clip number 3 for the booth.
I can go into a playground of kids that don't know anything about Christianity, lead them to the Lord in a matter of just no time at all, and just moments later they can be seeing visions and hearing the voice of God because they're so open. They are so usable in Christianity. If you look at the world's population, 1/3 of that 6.7 billion people are children under the age of 15. 1/3. Where should we be putting our efforts? Where should we be putting our focus? I'll tell you where our enemies are putting it. They're putting it on the kids.
Ooh, well,
unbelievable.
they're a means to an end, obviously, at least to her.
Usable?
Yeah.
They're so usable. They're so open. You can go into a playground and with kids who've never heard of Jesus before and have them thinking just like you, have them down on the ground,
and hearing
thinking,
voices,
having seizures.
and hearing voices, she said.
This, frankly, scares the hell out of me, that an adult can look at a child and see in them nothing but, oh, here's someone I can shape to my own beliefs. I mean, I believe, like, I think this woman is very sincere, and that what she thinks that what she is doing is what's right for these kids. I think this woman who leads this Jesus camp really honestly believes that the world is going to end soon and that she needs to save as many souls as she can. But it's not her right to go up to a child who she sees as open and usable and shape their mind into something that she finds useful. It's wrong. I mean, she knows that children are malleable and that she can instill her own beliefs into them. And I find that whole idea utterly repulsive.
Well, it's not just repulsive because of what she's saying and the fact that it's outright manipulation. It's repulsive because she's talking about other people's children.
Yes.
If it was her own children, yeah, I mean, this is maybe where you and I maybe have a slight disagreement, and where it's hard enough for me, where it's hard for me to sort of go. I can't go as far as what Dawkins says, basically.
Sure.
But I think the fine line between what you would consider indoctrination or just teaching is blurred, because I mean, everyone says that they should have the right to genetic self-determination, and that no one else other than themselves should be able to tell them how to raise kids, unless, and this goes back to our example in the news, unless what you're doing to your children is harmful. And obviously, for the baby who had the cyst on her eye, clearly, objectively a harmful thing. And what the thing is obviously as we saw with that story also, Oregon law made it so essentially that they could dismiss or ignore or soften basically the consequences for parents who chose for their beliefs to do that to their children.
Yeah.
And it's the definition of harm, because a lot of people will say, and I would play theist advocate here and say, vast majority of Christians are not doing harm just by teaching them their kids Christianity. I will, however, say is that once it starts to intrude upon these areas that I think can be psychologically indefensible, like, for example, telling kids that homosexuals go to hell and deserve eternal torture. I know a lot of evangelicals believe that about, obviously a lot of evangelicals believe in hell, and a lot of most evangelicals do not support homosexuality because it's prohibited in the Bible. But if you're a child of an evangelical and you happen to be gay, whether by nature, nurture, or however that happens, that is abuse. That simply is abuse, to tell them that just the way they are is so abhorrent that they deserve to be punished eternally for it, and tortured eternally for it. And that, I think, starts to weigh into the area where someone's teachings, parents' teachings, can start to be harmful. But I think that's going to be different in every case.
I would tend to agree with you on most of what you said. I mean, I certainly don't think. I think it would be extremely rare to find any person who goes out and consciously, knowingly looks at a child and says, I can make this person think exactly the way I think, and build up an army for God. I think most people who teach children religion do it because they really genuinely believe they're doing what's best for the child.
Sure.
And I respect that in a way. I mean, I like kids. I think it's great to, you know, do everything you can to do what's best for kids, obviously.
Sure.
I don't think anybody would disagree with that. But all I'm trying to say here is that at some point we need to stop thinking about our own rights, our own beliefs as adults, and start considering that children are not second-class citizens. They're individuals who have the right to develop their own minds. And that even if you think you're doing the very best thing for your kid by teaching them religion, consider that maybe you ought to let your child discover this stuff for themselves without instilling particular ideas into their head before they're of an age to understand what making such a choice means to them and to their community.
Right, agreed.
Anyway, did we have a caller or not? Nope, I
No,
thought we
no
did.
caller.
My bad. Why don't you people call us more? I really want you to call and talk to me.
The number's here.
Anyway, my final point here that I hear frequently, and actually kind of a nice segue from what we were saying there, is I hear often, it's not your right to tell parents what they can and can't teach their kids. And I tend to agree with that, absolutely. I'm not saying you can't teach your children religion. All I'm trying to do by bringing up this topic now and other times when I discuss it with people is to point out that we need to shift the focus away from the rights of the parents and onto the rights of the children. It's a child's right to make up his or her own mind about the world. Parents probably feel some justification for believing what they do believe if they can kind of foist their beliefs onto their kids. I mean, when you kind of surround yourself with a group of other people who think the same way you do, it's easily justified. Like, oh, I think this, everybody else thinks this, everyone around me thinks this. Clearly we've got it right because everybody believes the same thing. And you know, a family's kind of a built-in unit for ensuring that. Not that I think that's a conscious... Anyway, I'll stop rambling.
So can I break you here? And I don't know if this is so sensitive that you wouldn't want to air it, but how is this opinion of yours sort of informed by growing up as a Mormon? Because of the little that I do know about the Mormon Church, they're very family-centric, and in fact, the belief is so much a part of them that when some kids, you know, break from the faith, they break from their family as well, and that's an incredibly hard thing to take, you know, especially for a teenager, which is usually when it happens. Yeah,
that can be a hard thing. Fortunately, my family's not like that. I'm happy to say that my family's actually very cool and supportive, and certainly the religious members of my family, which outweigh the non-religious members of my family, I have no doubt that they wish I was not an atheist, that I was still a member of the church and all that good stuff. But they're pretty supportive and loving, which is nice. But in terms of how did indoctrination shape my worldview, I grew up a fearful kid. I was nervous all the time because, you know, the official name of the Mormon Church is the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and they mean that. I mean, the Mormon Church believes that the end times are now, and that Jesus is coming like any time now. So you got to be on your toes because he's about to show up any time and punish everyone.
I was thinking about this the other day. We should actually do a show where we try to accrue the number of times that people have predicted the exact end of the world. Because I'm sure it's happened so many times now.
Well, James Randi, it's on randy.org. He's got a whole website, and you can scroll down that website forever. Like it's all, it's pretty impressive. But yeah, in terms of how it's affected me, yeah, I believed because my parents, well, not my parents, my dad more so than my mom, to be fair to my mom, my family told me, these are the end times, and any day now, the world's going to end. And when you're a child and you hear something like, the world's going to end, seriously.
But I mean, so
that does stuff to you. I mean, you're lucky if you can let that one fly right over your child head and you don't internalize that and at least have some fear or anxiety over it.
Of course. And, well, here's another question, which is, I know that, of course, and being an end times person is not native to Mormons, but what about the role in which, the specific role that the church gives to women, or things that they don't give to women in Mormonism, that are potentially harmful? Because I know you are literally subservient, you know, if you're a woman. Some interpretations.
Yeah, certainly. Certainly, being on the outside of the church and looking in, it definitely does look to me as if you're taught. Well, there are definite gender roles, I would say, in that church, which is another childhood indoctrination thing. Like, men are supposed to be a very specific way. Men are caretakers. Men are providers. You know, the